Hi, everyone. So thank you so much for joining me. I know this was super last minute. I just thought I would put this out there because I actually gave this presentation, I'm going to say 2 years ago, but I thought it would be helpful again because it's about that time of year. So if you are here in Crowdcast, underneath me, there is a link for the workbook for today, so you can print it out and take notes. If you are on YouTube, so in theory, fingers crossed, this should be multi-streaming to both. So it should be on YouTube and it should also be on Crowdcast. But the link to download the workbook is only on Crowdcast and it's underneath me. Big green button that says download the workbook. You can't miss it. I hope everyone's having a great day. I was freaked out the other day. I don't know if you watched my vlog today, but last week on Wednesday, NaNo sent out an email and they're like, name your project. And I was like, this is so early. Like usually it's, I don't know, a couple days before. And it's funny because I've been doing Preptober, but I was still like, this is so early. Jess, I'm so excited we get 2 webinars this week from you. Yeah, maybe a third. I clearly have like some weird YouTube addiction. In fact, I was talking to my writing coach, Becca, who's amazing. You should watch my video on her. It's like changed everything about the way I write. But she was like, you really need to stop doing YouTube videos. So she's like, you should just focus more on writing, which is true. But I am ahead. I did finish my outline. And it's funny because I was like, I finished my outline so I can just kind of coast for the month. She's like, or you could start writing, which is true. I could just start writing early. So I'm going to share the screen. So let's see. And as you know, I pretty much always just talk with slides. It's just what I do. All right, let's see. Am I live on YouTube? I don't think I am. Yes, I am. All right, let me open that up to see if anyone has questions. There's one person watching. Thank you, one person. I don't know who that is. All right, here we go. This does have my old branding on it, Lisa London, but it's the same thing. You know who I am. So we're just going to go through really quickly. Who am you? Who are you? Who am I? I clearly got that wrong. Who are you? Who am I? It's a good thing I'm not teaching a grammar class. Where does NaNo fit in? Why do so few people finish? I have a really great stat for you. And how can we fix that? So this will be 30 minutes max. And at the end, I will be announcing the secret project that I've been working on. And I have an amazing giveaway for somebody on this call today. I don't know if you can see this. This is the Author Girl Boss notebook. So I had a few of these made. I think they're really cute. Anyways, I am going to be giving one away today to someone. Hey, Ryan. All right. Jess, that is adorable. Thanks. Yeah, they're really like, I just love these little notebooks. Anyways, here we go. So make sure you have the workbook, the recording, slides, everything else. Oh, this is old. This is Preptober. So we'll talk about that at the end. So who are you? So if you're here, hopefully you're an author who wants to sell books. It doesn't matter where you are. It also actually for this one, doesn't even matter what genre you write in. Usually I always say if you're writing nonfiction, this probably isn't the place for you. But the only person that today's presentation does not apply to, and this is pretty much 100% true for anything I talk about when it comes to writing or publishing, is literary fiction. So literary fiction doesn't need a plot. It doesn't need a purpose. It doesn't need a main character. It doesn't really need anything. It can just be, literary fiction to me is like a poem in narrative form. So it just has no rules. So you don't really plan for it. You can just write words and it will be done. So that's who I think is attending today. And then who am I? And this is old. These are all my Lisa London books. So we'll skip over that. But I thought this was funny. I left this up. And thank you to anyone who read this horrible, terrible book that I wrote and published. Yes, I unpublished it. It was called Lipstick and Lies, a makeover mystery. It was cute. It's about this makeup vlogger who was accused of murder. Anyways, it was terrible. You know how your first books are just terrible, but this is old and I did unpublish it. So you can't even find it now because it's so terrible. All right. So that's all boring stuff about me. So where does NaNo fit in? So this stat was like eye-opening for me. So every year, as you probably noticed, the nano people keep complaining, or not like in a mean way. They're like, there's so many people, we have to upgrade our servers, please donate. We just don't have enough money to run this. We're a nonprofit organization. And it's because it's getting more and more popular and more people are finding out about it and they're getting excited about it. And the thing is, though, more people are not finishing novels. So I know like probably what you're thinking, like anytime I hear about competition or somebody else doing what I'm doing, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much competition. I'm never gonna be able to do anything because so many people are going to be competing with me and so many people are going to be like putting out all these books. And it's so not true. It's like everyone is wanting to write a book. Like I think the stat is, it says like 80% of the world's population wants to write a book. Like anytime you talk to people, they're like, I'm going to write a book. I really want to write a book. I should write that book. But they don't do it. So they don't finish. So we're going to talk today about how to finish and how to finish early. So, you know, the percentage of winners, I don't know if you saw this. I don't have a stat from 2018, but for 2019 or for 2017, it actually went down. So it's like on the decline. So here we go. 3 main causes. So I think if you took everything, I always like to do like a root cause analysis. Like the main things behind everything is people are just trying to work harder versus smarter. Lots of distractions. Like I think, you know, I don't know what to do if you have children because I don't have any, but I think that's a huge like productivity bust. So I used to manage, well, not manage, but I used to hire IT professionals at TD Bank. And so we had people doing, you know, tons of different programming or QA or development or whatever. And so they had done a study and they had found that the number one reason that our IT people were inefficient is because of distractions. So what we had done in Chicago, because I don't know if you guys remember in the 80s, everyone in the 90s, even everyone had cubes, right? So you had a cube and your cube was kind of like a pseudo office and you had those walls that went almost to the ceiling. And you could kind of pretend like you were by yourself in your cube with your big cabinets above. It was very seclusionary. And, you know, the movie Matrix, if you remember that, when he's running through cubes at the beginning to try to get away from the bad guys. But anyways, that's kind of what everything looked like. And then in probably the late 90s, 2000s, everyone said, you know what? We should be more of a team and we should have an open office concept. So we're just going to get rid, either we're going to lower the cube walls or we're going to get rid of cube walls altogether. And everyone's just going to sit at a big table. So that way, when someone needs to think of, or ask somebody a question, they can just holler it across the table. You can walk over and chat with people. And they thought this would be a much better working environment and more efficient. So what we did is we had traders, which are people on the stock exchange, those kind of traders, and we had the IT people behind them. And so we mixed them all together. So if you've never worked with traders, they're always screaming, they're yelling, it's very loud, like tons and tons of chatter, right? And that's the nature of their job, and that's what they do. IT people are very quiet and they are very busy reading lines of code and programming and all of that stuff that goes with that. And so when you put them together, what happened was the IT people, their productivity like fell, like bottomed out. Like we were like, I don't even know if we can give bonuses this year. People are doing so terribly. And so we found out it's because they were getting distracted. So every 5 minutes, a trader was running over with a question, yelling something. I don't know if you know, they throw things at each other. They have these weird contests that, I don't want to be like sexist. I don't know, maybe it's a guy thing where they make each other do push-ups and like, I don't know what was going on at the trading floor, but once the IT guys were there, they started doing that too and they just weren't getting as much work done. So distractions, I think I made my point, is the number one killer of productivity because every time they got distracted, it took them 30 minutes to get back to the same place that they were and the same train of thought on what they wanted to do. And I think even though we are not programming developers, I think writing a novel is exactly the same. Like you're very into what you're putting down on paper, you're creating something, you have to remember what happened before, you have to think about what's happening after, you have to think about all the other variables going on in your story, just like an IT program. And so I think those distractions, every time someone interrupts you, it takes you a good 30 minutes to get back to the place that you were. So that's why your environment is also really important. So like, if nothing else, if you could solve these 3 things, you would be golden. But here we go. First hack, pantsers versus plotters. So I have changed my philosophy on this a little bit. I always used to say plotters are the best and plotters are the only way to go. But since I've worked with Becca on her coaching program, I've kind of changed that philosophy because Becca has a very much individualistic, tailored solution for everyone, right? So if you have a personality and your strengths coincide with being a pantser, then you should never pre-think out your book. It just won't work for you. However, I shouldn't say luckily, I obviously, the way I am, I'm very much a plotter. I plan everything. I have everything detailed. I have everything thought out. It's kind of like right now, my friend Lauren is on vacation in Morocco, and her and Meg, I was co-working with Meg, if you saw one of my other vlogging videos, and Meg, we were talking about it and we're like, oh, where are you staying? She goes, I don't know. We'll find something soon. And this is like 3 weeks before the trip. I would be freaking out. I don't think I would even buy a ticket unless I had a place that I knew I was going to stay. So it's the same thing for me when it comes to writing. If I don't know every single detail to the nth degree, I don't think I could write a single word of my novel. So I did try pantsing the other day, and maybe these pantser problems that I'm trying to cite might only be issues for people who are like me, who like plotting. So if your personality and your strengths are such that you like being organized, you like having everything detailed out, you're probably not very spontaneous. I am not spontaneous at all. So these might be things that aren't issues for you. But, when I was trying to pants, I would wait for inspiration to come, which I don't know if you've ever done that, but it doesn't always come. Or it comes while you're watching a movie and you're like, well, let me just finish this movie and then I'll start writing. And then of course you don't feel like writing. And I'm always changing my mind because, shiny object syndrome happens to me all the time anyway, but especially when I'm pantsing, because there's really no storyline that's been thought out very thoroughly or well developed. And so what's it matter? I saw a new episode today of, I don't even know, let's say my new favorite show, Almost Family. They had a really great plot twist. Maybe I could just work something like that into my book. So that's what would always happen with me. Or I couldn't decide which way to go, or I would think of something great and maybe I would write a couple notes down and then I would forget what I wrote down or what it meant. And so some days worked out well. Some days worked out not so well. And so those are the issues that I think, for me as a plotter, have with trying to pants. But when I switched over to plotting, it was so much better. It was like my entire world, like these were the questions that I was seeking out. These were the solutions to all the problems that I had. And I had like a set schedule of what I needed to write each day. I knew who was going to be in the scene, what happened in the scene before, what happens in the scene after, what the weather is. I mean, if you watch my video on how to outline a scene, just one scene by itself, I have 10 different components, like the humidity, the rain, what time did we start the scene? What time did we end the scene? Did it start at 5:01 p.m. and end at 5:15 p.m.? So everything has been thought out and nothing is left to chance. Now, that does take a lot of time to do the outline. That's why I dedicate the entire month of October just to write an outline, because I think for me as a plotter, it's just that important. So, again, if you're a pantser, it's totally not a big deal. Samantha, I've totally jotted down notes on scraps of paper while watching movies and TV shows. Yeah, because you see something, you're like, that is such a good line, or what a great idea, or the writers were so clever. Jess, I love that mock-up cover. Oh, thanks. Oh, the lipstick and lies, yeah. All right, so that is old. So number 2, bounce around. So I think, again, this is me. I think very linearly. And sometimes what happens is when I go through my outline, I get stuck and then I won't move on. And I've learned that it's okay even though it does pain me to move on and then come back if I can't figure out that scene or how I really want to portray it, or if I feel right about it. And sometimes just writing the next scene kind of helps out. Or again, if you're like Samantha and I, and you've seen like some crazy movie with a great black moment ending, you're like, I must write the black moment of my novel right now, then go ahead and do that if you think like the inspiration is hitting you. And then you can cross it off the list. So this way because my outline's already pre-done, I can just cross things off as I go. So then I know what I have to write and what I don't have to write. And then my Google Doc corresponds to it as well. So I know where there are blank pages and where there are not blank pages. All right, hack number 3, schedule makeup days. This is so important. Like I don't know if anyone has ever planned anything like a vacation, a trip, or your day, or a day at the spa, like anything you planned out, something inevitably, I don't want to say goes wrong, but something happens, you're running late, somebody else joins the group, and then you have to like try to make things up, and it's really difficult. So if you can schedule makeup days ahead of time, that's why if you looked in my video where I said I laid out my creatives calendar, I only scheduled myself to write Monday through Friday, even though really because I just work for myself, I could write 7 days a week, but I know that things are going to come up. So for me, having Saturday and Sunday as makeup days was enough buffer to me to, one, not feel like a failure in case something happened on a Thursday or Friday. I could say, you know what, it's not a big deal. I can make it up over the weekend. And also just to give myself some breathing room, because I think the way the NaNoWriMo schedule is set up, it wants you to write, I think it's 1,675 words or something like that every single day. And so if you set yourself up, what happens is you set yourself up to write that many words per day. You miss a day, and then you think in your mind, because I know I've done this before, and I was like, okay, I missed a day, not a big deal. I will write 3,000 words or whatever it is, 3,200 words tomorrow. No problem. Then I miss another day and I'm like, okay, no problem. I will write 4,400 words the next day. It's totally doable. Not a big deal. 3 days. And then all of a sudden you're like 20,000 words behind. So that's why I would go ahead and block out some days for yourself right now. Like when I had a full-time job, what I did is I saved up all of my vacation days for November. And I use those as well as sick days, or I would try to leave work early. So I don't know where you work, what your job is like, but in New York, nobody really comes into work late at the offices or the companies that I was at, but people can sometimes slip out early. But you can't really come in late, if that makes sense. Like everyone kind of makes it to work on time in New York. And then at the end of the day, people kind of trickle away. Maybe they had an appointment. Maybe they're coming back. You're not really sure. So it was easier for me to leave work early. You can decide what you want to do. I think, everyone's days are different. And if you have a really great job where I talked about this before, like, should you quit your job? And in the video, I said, if you have a job where you can come in at like 9 or 9:30 and be home by 4:30, you shouldn't quit your job. That is the easiest job in the world. And if you can take a 1-hour lunch and write during that time, that's all. Like, honestly, you would spend way more time than that. Like I do way more time than that working on my own business. So everyone's like, oh, you should work from home and work for yourself. And yeah, it is great being able to make your own hours, but you're also 100% dependent on you to do the work. Whereas when you have a job, you can skip out early. You don't worry about it. Like when I went home, I never worried, is TD Bank going to fail? Are they making enough money today? Who cares? Like the only thing I cared about is, am I getting my bonus this year? Am I going to get, I don't know, is my health insurance covered? Right. So it's less stress for your brain and things to think about. Hack number 4, become a minimalist. If like anything, if there's like, what's the secret to life? It is becoming a minimalist. Like as soon as I became a minimalist, I don't know if anyone knows this, I had $190,000 in credit card debt, student loan debt, I think medical bills, like all of that added up to $190,000. And yes, I had a lot of fun in my 20s, probably too much, which is why my credit card bill was so high. I was not responsible at all, like all of the people I see today running businesses. I would never do that. I was like looking for the next party or going out clubbing for the weekend. But as soon as I became a minimalist, I got rid of, like, I remember I moved into an apartment and I had so many clothes and shoes. I had to move into a 2-bedroom with 2 walk-in closets because I had that much clothing. And I still, even then, on top of it, I had 2 dressers and that still wasn't enough. So I had to buy 3 more dressers to hold all of my clothes. So yeah, I bought a lot of clothes as well because I'm going out all the time, right? So anyways, as soon as I became a minimalist, I immediately saved money and my debt just went away. So this can solve so many things in your life. But your desk, if you notice, like, people will take writing retreats to go away somewhere. And I really don't think they're going away to get away from, their everyday life as much as they're going away to get away from their clutter. People go to hotels, people go to like resorts, like places where it has a clean desk surface. So like every night I have, I learned this at, was it TD? So at TD, because you're worried about insider trading and everything, they had a policy that was called the clean desk policy. You couldn't leave work unless your desk was clean. And if you did leave your desk unclean or papers out, you actually got written up for it and possibly fired. It was considered like an SEC violation or something. So ever since then, I have just kept up the clean desk policy. So every night before I go to bed, everything is cleaned off. And then in the morning, you're excited to work on stuff or do something because you have a nice clean desk. So I definitely do not believe that a cluttered desk, I know some people are like, there's this picture of Albert Einstein. They're like, it's a sign of a creative mind. I really don't think it is. I think you should throw it away. Like, just in general, the more stuff you have, the more stuff you have to clean, the more stuff you have to insure, the more stuff you have to worry about. Like, having less stuff is so freeing. I can't even tell you. Anyways, that is hack number 4. So number 5 is clear your calendar. So same thing, just get rid of things. So I notice people will, like, as soon as someone gives you, or just look at your calendar. Don't even worry about new appointments. Like, obviously new appointments, hard no, right? Anything you can move. Like, so let's say I think I have a dentist appointment or something in October because it's my 6-month cleaning, but I'm going to move it. It's not a big deal. I'll just move it to December. Other things that you can move. I don't even know, like trips, people visiting you. If you are going to, I don't know, the movies or like TV shows I want to watch. I ordered DVR service just so that I am not tempted to watch anything during the month of November. And I can just save it and watch it in December when I'm done writing. So everything that you can, just try to leave yourself as much blank space in your calendar that's possible, which goes along with hack number 6, which is say no. So anytime, and I know people get like, they're worried about being polite or being rude. Definitely 100% just say no. Like, that should be your first reaction. Hold on, I'll check comments. Laura, I wish I had some vacation days. I would totally use them for NaNoWriMo. You can use sick days. I know, not totally legit. But here's the thing. I worked at Human Resources. You can call in sick. Nobody is ever going to be fired for being sick. One, it's like a HIPAA violation, or it's seen as discrimination for someone who has a disability possibly. And in the US, I don't know about other countries, but in the US, you can be absent for up to, I think, 2 days consecutively. And then if you're absent a 3rd day consecutively, they can ask you to get a doctor's authorization to return to work. Now, that's not a note from the doctor confirming that you're sick. That's just a note from the doctor saying it's okay for you to come back to work. But anytime, just so you know, everyone I know over explains why they're sick. You, because of HIPAA and health, like privacy, you never, ever have to disclose what you're sick with. You can just say, I'm too sick to come into work. That's it. You don't have to explain, like, if you're having female problems, you don't have to explain that you have the flu. You don't have to explain, like, nothing else. If it's just a regular sick day, just say sick. If you're doing short-term disability or long-term disability, that's a different question, and ask me offline. But any sick day, you can just call it in. Jess, my fear is I'm a freelance writer, so I write for a living. Then I want to write for fun for NaNo. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I've always thought about that. Like, I never do developmental editing for people just because I feel like the same thing as you, it would drain me to do writing for a living and do writing like for fun. Like, it wouldn't be fun anymore. You know what I mean? So I think though with freelance writing, because they're more like an assignment, maybe it's different, but I don't know. You let me know. All right. So no. So say no, I can't. I'm busy. So I would have pre-canned responses for anybody and everybody who asks you questions. Like, all of my friends are really good, even though none of them are writers. And I'll just say, I can't go out. I have to write my book. And there is that little pullback, like, why can't you just write later? Like, because writing is like one of those activities where they're like, you could just do it whenever. Why don't we just go to the movies? Or you can just do it whenever. Why don't we go out dancing for the night? Like, or why don't we go to dinner? So I just say I can't leave. Like, I'm not going to be able to go. And in fact, everybody knows during the month of November between like 8 and 5 or 9 and 5, I just turn my phone off. So you can't even get a hold of me. But I do just tell my closest friends that, and then they just kind of know. No, I'm already booked. Thanks for asking. So you can always say thanks for asking, but I'm going to pass. Or you can say, hey, maybe next month or something. Because think of all the things, like I used to do this all the time. I feel like this is something I did in my 20s. I would say yes all the time to things that I really didn't want to do because I was worried about hurting someone's feelings, or I had FOMO, or I just wasn't sure. It felt uncomfortable. So it was easier to say yes, even though I didn't want to. And then when it came time to actually go somewhere, like I was thinking of a million excuses to not go. So my friends used to call me flaky because I would like say yes to stuff, but I really didn't want to do it with them. So it wasn't that I was flaky. It was that I was saying yes to things I didn't want to. So this took me a long time, but I can confirm that I am much happier since I have learned to say no to things. Number 7, be confident. So I think this is probably the biggest one. It's kind of small and nobody really talks about it, but I think sometimes people don't finish NaNo because midway through, they don't like their book. Like, for sure, that book I wrote in 2017 totally sucked and it was horrible, but I kept going. And because I kept going, I learned more, right? Like, if I hadn't written that cozy mystery, I wouldn't know anything about cozy mysteries or how they do or don't work, right? So every time you do stuff, you get better at it. And, just think, I can do this. I am a writer and I am going to get better. Even if this isn't the best book in the whole world, like, I have an opportunity to write more books later. And, there was Rachel Hollis was speaking at the influencer event that I was at last week. And she said, girl, wash your face. Everyone congratulated her on her first book. And she's like, it wasn't my first book. It was like my 8th book or 9th or something like that. And she's like, so I had learned, which is so true, how to write with all those other books. So, I'm not saying you have to wait until your 9th book before you hit the New York Times bestseller list, but it's just crazy to me that people practice tons of things before they actually go to do them. They go get 4-year degrees. But for some reason with writing, people think they're just going to write their first novel and it's going to be the best ever. So it's kind of like Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours. So just think of it as you putting in your 10,000 hours to get you to that expert status. So if you need a boost, whenever I need boosts for confidence, I go to Brendan Bouchard. I just watch some of his videos. I watch Joel Osteen videos. What else do I read? Not really. I mean, I like Rachel Hollis, but I don't really go there for any inspiration. I mean, there's a ton of different places you can go for positive inspiration. And so, yeah, so I would just start collecting those now, or maybe taking your favorite quotes, putting them on Post-it notes or printing them out, and then just posting them all over the walls around you, wherever your writing space is. All right, hack number 8, block numbers on your phone. So you know who I'm talking about. There are some people that will call me and I love them, but they will talk for hours. And like, I'm like, I have to go. You know how you have people and you're like, I have to go, but they just keep talking and talking. And so this will kill your productivity. So you could just block numbers, or you could actually just get a burner phone, right? Like I hear this all the time with moms. They're like, I can't turn off my phone. My children might need me. You could just get a burner phone where you won't be tempted to surf Facebook or Instagram or surf the web, right? It can't do anything but get text messages and make phone calls. So kind of like a super landline, because it can get text messages and that's it. So again, that would be my suggestion. Hack number 9, create autoresponders. So if you ever find yourself, like I used to wake up in the morning, and this is from probably my corporate life. I've never been an entrepreneur before like the last 3 years. So I would just wake up every morning. And the first thing I did when I rolled over in bed is I would check email, because I like to pride myself on, I am super responsive. Like I will respond all the time. And I think it was that. And also I just wanted my bonus at the end of the year. Like I wanted a really big bonus. And so I would always be responding to emails. So if I didn't respond to an email, even if it's because it's New York City, if midnight, people are like, is something wrong with Lisa? So, and I would respond at 5 a.m. the next day. Like, so I would create autoresponders if you have a business or even your personal email, just to let people know that's what you're doing. Or have a voicemail that says, so I don't know if you guys know this, but my voicemail has been full for 3 years. And so at first people were like, hey, your voicemail is full. You should clear it out. I never want a voicemail ever from anybody. So I've just never unfilled it. And so I never have to worry about checking voicemail and returning calls. So if you want to get a hold of me, you either have to catch me live because I feel like answering the phone, which I usually don't, or you need to send me a text message or an email or something else. And I can confirm I haven't missed anything. Nothing has fallen through the cracks. Nobody has died and I didn't get a message. Like everything is fine. So you might want to consider also getting rid of your voicemail. You don't really need it. It's like one less thing in life that I have to check, because I feel like I was tied to voicemail so much when I was in my corporate life. But over here for autoresponders, everything that you can, just let people know that you're gone. There is, I don't know if anyone watches Gary Vaynerchuk. And so he was talking about doing disappearing December, which I was kind of excited about. Like he's talking about maybe just not being on social media at all for the month of December. So something you could do for instead the month of November, because you're a writer and you're doing NaNoWriMo. Laura, totally. I've written lots of terrible Nano novels over 11 years of participation and been a rebel on several I actually finished. It's all good. Yeah, for sure, right? But don't you feel better? Like I feel better, even though I know that novel was terrible. Like I feel good that I finished it, right? Like even though it kind of sucked, at least I know the next time I go to write something, it's going to be better. It's just like my YouTube channel. If you look at some of my earlier videos, they're just terrible. And I'm not even sure if I know what I was talking about. But in fact, I'm still not even sure if I know what I'm talking about. But the more you're in front of the camera and the more you practice, the better you get. Like before, it used to take me, I don't even know, an entire day to edit a video. And now I can edit a video probably like in 30, 45 minutes, right? Vlogging does take me longer. It does take me almost like 5 or 6 hours because again, it's a new skill, but I'm not going to get better at it unless I keep doing it. So so, you can read all the craft books you want in the world and take a million courses and go to tons of conferences and workshops. Trust me, I've been there. I've done that. But at the end of the day, you still have to do the work and the writing, and that's what's going to make you better. The other things will help accelerate that, but you still got to do the main writing. And number 10, join a writing community. So it's really funny that I said this because at the time I had a bunch of writing friends and now not so much, only because If you remember my 2 strengths that I did when I was working with Becca, well, I'm still working with Becca. I took her class, Author Strengths. And my 2 strengths are, 2 of my 5 are context and harmony. So context means that I will go to other experts, like other writers, and I very much value their opinions. And also harmony means if they say something that I don't agree with, or I should say that that doesn't jive with what I'm doing. So I'll give you a specific example. I have a writer friend who, lovely, meant well, and I told her my idea for a cozy mystery. And she's like, that is so stupid. Nobody is going to buy that. You cannot write that. You'll be a loser. Like, that's basically the gist of what she said. She didn't say it exactly like that. So I thought, well, all right, I guess, she is a writer. She has published way more books than me, sold tons more. Obviously, she knows what she's talking about, so I shouldn't write that book. So, because I want high harmony. So then I came up with another idea, ran it by her again. She's like, that is even dumber than the first book. Nobody's going to write that. Nobody's going to read that. But these were the books, these were ideas that I felt really passionate about. I was super excited to write. And so what happened was, for an entire month, this went back and forth. I did a lot of crying. And I actually wrote nothing. So Becca and I decided, because I have high contacts, and this isn't for everybody. Some people get really excited and get new ideas when they talk to other people. But for me, it kind of discourages me if they disagree. So instead, I am keeping everything secret. And this way, the ideas can just marinate in my head as I want them to be. And, if someone disagrees, which is totally fine, I'm not saying people shouldn't disagree with me, but it doesn't affect my writing or stop my process. So again, writer communities doesn't mean you have to share ideas. You can just be there for moral support. For the month of November, Courtney and I are hosting 2 live write-ins. So we usually do our book club discussions on the last Wednesday of every month at 7 Central. So what we're going to do is the first Wednesday in November, November 6th, and the second Wednesday, November 13th, same time at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, we are both hosting together both days, both Wednesdays, write-ins. So if you want to do a virtual write-in, just make sure to stay on my mailing list. You'll get a note. Same thing with, I think there's a few other author tubers that do write-ins as well. So, you don't have to travel. You can just stay in the comfort of your own home. Obviously, there's tons of write-ins with NaNoWriMo for people to join in. And I used to go to those in New York, but it's kind of hard in San Diego because everything is so spread out. I think San Diego is 4,300 square miles or something crazy like that. So you'll have a write-in an hour and a half away, another one that's 45 minutes away. So sometimes with traffic, I just can't get to them. So for me, the virtual write-ins are always much better. Plus, honestly, when I'm alone, just the way I write, I do much better if I'm just sitting at home by myself. So when I go in a group with my friends, even though we're all kind of being silent, I usually can't get into writing for some reason. I don't know. It's just something about me. So it's important to know what works for you and what doesn't work for you. All right. Samantha, I love Becca's Write Better Faster course. It helped me understand not only my writing style, but my mindset in general. Oh, awesome. I'm so glad you took it too. I am actually going through Becca's Write Better Faster course right now. So I discovered that I don't do well with word count goals. I mean, that's the cornerstone of every writer, right? So for NaNoWriMo, I'm not going to do writing. I'm still going to count my writing, my word count, but I'm only going to schedule myself for hours. So I'm going to say I'm going to write from 9 to 5 every day. And if I do that, I feel successful because that's something I can accomplish versus I think I originally said I'm going to write 4,000 words a day. And then if I don't, I feel like a failure. And then it discourages me for something psychologically. So this way, I know I can stick with that goal. That's what I got from Write Better Faster. So yeah, you're totally right. So everybody's different. So everyone who takes Becca's course comes up with a different solution based on what works and doesn't work for them. Samantha, that's super interesting. I hope it helps motivate you even more. Yeah, I think it will. I think it'll be my regular 9 to 5 job will be writing. see anything over here on YouTube. No. All right. So it is time to announce my secret project. So as you know, I love plotting and planning and outlining and everything else. So what I'm going to do is I am going to host a 2-hour plotting crash course. So I have the NaNo starter kit, which I'm in the process of rebranding to call that Plot Your First Novel, since NaNo is obviously a branded term for NaNoWriMo. So same course, 31 days. And all we're going to do, because it's a lot of videos, obviously 31 to make it through. So I've condensed everything down just like we're doing today into a slide format. So just going to take you from beginning to end, like how to write your premise, what is high concept, what is character GMC, how to do the internal and the external, how to use the Enneagram, how to create plot point 1, et cetera, et cetera. So all of that will be in a crash course this Saturday. So that will be open for enrollment starting tomorrow at noon. So I have another webinar. I guess it's not a webinar. It's another live stream tomorrow where Kirsten and I are just chatting about all the awesome things that we learned at Influencer. So I will be opening up right then the enrollment for the crash course for Plot Your First Novel. So the crash course, again, is different from the regular course. It's just 2 hours. It has a workbook included, just like I do for everything. You will get all of the slides and you will get the recording. So that will go up with all the details tomorrow at noon. So if you have any questions, you can ask me then. And that's kind of it. So I hope this was helpful. And it's time to pick a winner for the Author Girl Boss Notebook. So let me stop sharing. All right, so the sun is, I don't know if you can tell, the sun is like coming in towards the window as we've been on here, so it's really bright. So Samantha, I guess there's only 5 of you, give me a number between 1 and 10. Seven. Okay. And Laura, are you still here? Will you give me a number between 1 and 5? 5. Okay. So 7 minus 5 is 2. So we will go into the chat log. Let me share this with you. And 1, 2. So did I do math right? 7 minus 5 is 2, right? Samantha, it wouldn't let me hit enter fast enough. 6. All right. Oh, Jess put 7. Okay. So 6 minus, thanks, Jess. 6 minus 5 is 1. So number 1 is Lisa. So I obviously cannot give the prize to myself. So we'll go with Jess's number. 7 minus 5 is 2. So Jessica Sayers, so you're the one who won this amazing notebook. So go ahead and just send me an email. I am at lisa@lisalatte.com. And I will drop this in the mail to you tomorrow. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. All right. Bye, everyone.